Let's go! Yeehaw! We're doing it!
The spaceport of Karen 9 never slept. Ships landed and lifted every hour. Engines roared like distant storms. Lights flickered over metal streets, and the air smelled of fuel and old dust. Among the noise and rush, 3 alien boys stood near the cargo lane. Thin shoulders, worn clothes, and tired eyes. Their names were Ril, Tavo, and Sun. Brothers by blood and by struggle, they waited every day hoping someone would need help. Even small work meant food for the night. Most travelers ignored them. Some pushed them aside. Others looked at them with fear. Humans were the worst in the stories people told. Humans were said to be cold, rich, and cruel. Humans never saw aliens as equals. That day, a human ship arrived quietly, black and clean, not large but heavy with purpose. A tall human man stepped out, wearing a long coat and simple boots. His face showed age and calm, not pride, not anger, just focus. He looked around slowly. His eyes stopped on the 3 boys. He walked toward them without guards, without shouting. "I need help carrying bags," he said in a steady voice. Simple words, no sharp tone. The boys froze. Humans never spoke like that, never asked. They ordered. Ril felt his hand shake. Tavo stepped back. Sun lowered his eyes. "How much?" Ril asked carefully. The human named a fair price, more than most paid for a full day of work. The boys exchanged looks. Fear and hope mixed together. Hunger won. They followed the human to his ship, where 3 large metal bags waited, sealed tight, smooth and dark. When Ril lifted one, his knees bent. It was far heavier than it looked. "What is inside?" Sun asked without thinking. The human did not get angry. He only said, "Something important, something that must reach the other side." As they walked through the crowded port, people stared. Some whispered. A human trusting alien street boys felt wrong to many. Guards watched closely. Tavo noticed a soft humming sound from the bag he carried, like a quiet heartbeat. He said nothing, but his fear grew. The human walked beside them, matching their slow steps. When Sun struggled, the human adjusted his pace. When Ril almost slipped, the human steadied the bag, without touching him. No human had ever walked like that with them. No shouting, no insults, no threats. They reached the cargo gate. The human stopped. He checked the path ahead, then turned to the boys. "You did well," he said, and transferred the credits. The number made Ril gasp. It was enough for food, medicine, and power for weeks. Tavo stared at the screen, thinking it must be a mistake. Sun looked up, waiting for a demand. None came. The human nodded once and took the bags. Before leaving, he paused. His eyes rested on the boys. "Kindness travels farther than ships," he said quietly. Then he walked away, disappearing into the moving crowd. The boys stood still, the noise of the spaceport rushing back around them, their hearts beating fast. "Why us?" Sun whispered. "No human does that," Tavo replied. Ril felt something strange, not fear, not joy, but confusion, and a small spark of hope he did not trust. As they turned to leave, the humming sound echoed again in Ril's ears. Though the bags were gone, the feeling stayed. That night, the boys walked home through narrow streets, lights flickering, shadows long. They spoke little, each lost in thought. Above them, a small drone hovered briefly, then vanished, unseen by others. At their home, their mother waited, worry etched into her face. She counted the credits twice. Fear replaced relief. "Where did this come from?" she asked. The boys shared the story, every detail. The human, the bags, the words, the kindness. Their mother's hands trembled. She looked toward the door as if danger followed the tale. "Humans bring storms," she said softly. Outside, far away, alarms began to rise across the port. Lights shifted color. Guards moved faster. And somewhere in the city, a report flashed on a screen. Illegal cargo unaccounted for, carriers unknown. The 3 boys did not know it yet, but that simple job had placed them inside a story far larger than hunger, far heavier than any bag they had carried. Before the next part begins, if you enjoy slow-build stories with heart, mystery, and humanity rising in dark places, gently consider subscribing to this channel. It helps these stories travel farther. That night, sleep did not come easily to the three boys. The small room felt tighter than usual. Shadows on the walls looked like moving shapes. Every sound from outside made their hearts jump. Rill lay awake staring at the ceiling. The human's calm face kept returning to his mind. Kindness from a human felt more dangerous than cruelty. Because cruelty was expected, kindness was not. Tavo sat near the small window, watching the street below. He kept thinking about the humming sound. It was soft, steady, almost alive. He wondered if it was a machine, or something more. Sun stayed close to their mother. He could feel her fear through her silence. She had locked the door twice, then checked it again. Her eyes were sharp, listening to every distant noise. Outside, the city felt different. Patrol lights moved more often. Drones flew lower. Voices echoed with urgency. Something was wrong. Early in the morning, a city alert sounded through the streets. A cold mechanical voice announced that unauthorized cargo had gone missing near the spaceport. Citizens were asked to report any strange activity. Their mother's face turned pale. She slowly sat down, as if her strength had left her body. "It has begun," she whispered. Rill asked what she meant, but she did not answer. Instead, she told them to stay inside, no matter who knocked, no matter what they heard. Tavo remembered the human's words. Kindness travels farther than ships. The sentence now felt heavy, like a warning. As the sun rose, rumors spread fast. Neighbors talked through half-open doors. People said the cargo belonged to powerful alien houses. Others said humans were involved. And when humans were involved, punishment was never small. Sun noticed something strange. A faint glowing mark appeared on the floor near the doorway. It was not there before. It looked like a symbol, thin lines forming a shape he did not recognize. He called his brothers. Rill knelt and touched the air above it. The mark felt warm, but not dangerous. Their mother froze when she saw it. Fear rushed into her eyes, but mixed with confusion. "That mark," she said slowly. "I have not seen it in many years." Before she could explain, a loud sound echoed outside. Heavy boots, armor plates clashing. Alien guards were moving through the street, knocking on doors, questioning people. The boys held their breath as shadows passed under their door. One guard stopped, scanned the area, then moved on. Minutes felt like hours. When the street finally grew quiet, their mother sank to the floor, covering her face. She began to speak of the past, long before the boys were born. When humans first arrived in nearby systems, some brought trade, some brought war, some brought promises, and some brought lies. "There are different kinds of humans," she said. "But power hides the truth, and kindness is often mistaken for weakness." Rill thought about how the human had trusted them. Not guards, not officials, but three poor boys. It made no sense unless the human knew something others did not. Later that day, Tavo dared to step outside for food. The city felt tense. Guards questioned workers. Scanners swept crowds. Whispers followed every human-shaped shadow. At the market, Tavo overheard two traders talking. They spoke of medical cores, advanced devices able to heal thousands, devices stolen before reaching war victims. Tavo's chest tightened. Medical cores, heavy, sealed, humming softly. His mind connected the pieces. He rushed home, breathless, and told his brothers everything. Silence filled the room. If the bags carried medical cores, then the human was not a criminal. He was trying to save lives, and the ones hunting him were not heroes. Their mother listened carefully. Her fear deepened, but something else appeared in her eyes, doubt. "Not all storms destroy," she said quietly. As night returned, the glowing symbol near the door brightened slightly, then faded again, as if responding to something far away. Rill felt a strange sense of protection, like unseen eyes were watching over them, not to hunt, but to guard. Far across the city, the human stood alone in a shadowed corridor, listening to reports. His jaw tightened. The cargo trail was narrowing. The boy's location was close. He did not regret his choice. He had trusted them for a reason. Back in the small home, the boys sat together, fear still present, but now mixed with purpose. They were no longer just carriers of bags. They were part of something larger, something dangerous. None of them knew what the next day would bring, but one truth was clear. The secrets inside those bags had already changed their lives, and the real danger was only beginning. Morning came without peace. The light outside felt cold, not warm, as if the city itself was holding its breath. The boy's mother woke before them. She had not slept. Her eyes were red, her hands restless. She stood near the door, staring at the faint mark on the floor, which now looked dull but still present. Rill noticed her fear was deeper than before, not the fear of hunger or guards, but the fear of memories. She finally spoke, her voice low, as if the walls could listen. "When I was young," she said, "humans came to our world during the border wars." The boys listened closely. This was the first time she had spoken about that time. "Some humans were soldiers, some were traders, some were healers," she continued. "We learned too late that humans are not one thing. They are choices walking in skin." She described chaos, cities burning, promises broken by powerful leaders. But she also spoke of a human medic who once saved her sister, carrying her through fire while others ran. "That human never returned," she said softly. Her eyes moved back to the symbol. "That mark," she whispered, "means protection. It is used by humans who follow old codes, not laws, not orders, but promises." The boys felt a chill. The human from the port had not looked like a criminal. He had looked like someone carrying weight invisible to others. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder. Armored vehicles rolled through nearby streets. Loudspeakers ordered citizens to remain indoors. The city was being sealed. Sun peeked through a crack in the window and froze. Alien soldiers were scanning houses one by one, their weapons ready, their faces hard. "They are coming closer," he said. The mother acted fast. She moved a loose panel in the wall, revealing a narrow storage space. "If they enter," she said, "you hide. Do not speak, no matter what happens." Rill protested, but her look silenced him. Heavy footsteps stopped outside their door. A scanner beeped once. Then again, the symbol near the door flickered faintly, unseen by those outside. A knock followed, loud and demanding. "Open for inspection," a voice ordered. The mother took a breath and opened the door. 2 soldiers stood there, tall, armored, eyes scanning the room. They asked routine questions, names, work, movements from the day before. The mother answered calmly, her voice steady despite her fear. One soldier stepped inside. His scanner passed over the walls, paused briefly near the hidden space, then moved on. After a tense moment, the soldiers left, unsatisfied but empty-handed. The door closed, and the mother collapsed into a chair, shaking. The boys came out slowly, their legs weak. "They are searching for carriers," she said. "Not criminals, not leaders, but small hands, easy to break." That sentence stayed with them. Later that day, city broadcasts grew darker. Rewards were offered for information. Punishment promised for silence. Neighbors began to turn on each other. Fear poisoned trust. Tavo noticed something else. Humans in the city were being watched more closely, followed, questioned, some dragged away. As evening fell, a quiet sound came from outside. Not boots, not engines, but a soft signal. The symbol on the floor glowed brighter than before. Rill felt a strange pull, like the mark was calling someone, or answering a call. Far away. The human felt it too. His device pulsed once. The protection code was still active. The boys were alive. Back in the house, the mother made a decision. Fear still ruled her heart, but fear alone could not guide them anymore. "If the human trusted you," she said, looking at her sons, "then there is a reason." She revealed the final truth. She had once helped hide human refugees during the war, children, wounded soldiers, people hunted by power. "That is why I am afraid," she said, "because helping humans brings danger, but refusing brings regret." The boys understood then. This was not just about bags or credits. It was about choosing who they were in a cruel world. Outside, sirens wailed again, closer than before, and above the city, ships moved into position. The mother looked at the glowing mark one last time and whispered, "If the storm is coming," she said, "then we must decide whether to hide or stand." The night answered with silence, heavy and waiting, and the choice before them grew sharper with every passing second. Far from the small house and the glowing mark on the floor, The human moved through the lower levels of the city, where lights were dim and walls remembered old wars. He walked alone, his coat pulled tight, not hiding his face, but hiding his past. Every step was calm, but his mind was heavy. His name was Elias Marr, once known across human space, not as a trader, but as a logistics officer during the border wars, a man whose job was to move hope through chaos. In the war, Elias did not carry weapons. He carried supplies, medicine, power cores, and medical AI units, tools that saved lives when bullets could not. He had seen worlds burn because they'd arrived late. He had seen children die because paperwork moved slower than pain. That was why he left the military, not in anger, but in quiet refusal. Now he worked alone, rich by trade, poor by choice, using his wealth to move what governments blocked and what corrupt leaders sold for profit. The bags the boys carried were not weapons. They were advanced medical AI cores, designed to heal damaged bodies and rebuild broken systems. Each one could save thousands in war zones. But those cores were forbidden here, not because they were dangerous, but because sick people made powerful groups rich. Elias knew the risk. The moment he entered the spaceport, he knew he was being watched, but he also knew guards could be bought, scanners could be fooled, and rules could be bent. Trust, however, could not be faked. That was why he chose the three boys. He had seen them watching ships every day, never stealing, never begging loudly, always helping each other. They reminded him of supply runners he once commanded, young, scared, but honest. Power never looks at the poor, Elias thought, and that makes them invisible. As he moved through the city, his wrist device pulsed softly. The protection mark was still active. The boys and their mother were safe, for now. Still, danger closed in. In a high tower above the city, alien officials argued around a glowing table. Footage of the spaceport replayed again and again, zooming in on the boys, on Elias, on the sealed bags. They are close. One official hissed, "Find the carriers." "They are children," another replied, uneasy. "Children break faster," came the cold answer. Orders were given, addresses traced, patrols doubled. Elias felt it before he saw it. A shift in the air, a tightening of the city. He changed his path, moving into old service tunnels, routes marked in his memory from past missions. As he walked, memories followed him, faces he failed to save, promises he could not keep, worlds that thanked humanity, and worlds that cursed it. Humanity, he believed, was not about flags or power. It was about showing up when it mattered, even if no one would praise you. That belief had cost him everything once, and he was ready to pay again. Back at the small house, the boys felt the tension rise. The symbol on the floor glowed and faded in slow rhythm, like a heartbeat connected to something far away. Their mother watched it closely, fear still strong, but now mixed with understanding. "He is still near," she said softly. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the air. Not an alarm, but a silent message. Every screen in the city flashed the same notice. All citizens were ordered to report any contact with a human traitor matching Elias's description. Rewards were raised, punishments doubled. Rill's hands clenched. Tavo swallowed hard. Sun felt his chest tighten. They finally understood. The human was not running from justice. He was running toward it, carrying healing through a system built on suffering. And because of one small act of kindness at the spaceport, their lives were now tied to his mission. Far below the city lights, Elias stopped. His device buzzed again, this time with warning. Patrols were converging on the boys' area. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, not in fear, but in resolve. "If they come for them," he whispered to himself, "then they come through me." He changed direction, heading toward the danger instead of away from it. Above him, ships adjusted their positions, soldiers prepared to move, and the city leaned closer to a breaking point. The truth was now clear. The human was not a rich trader passing through. He was a shield walking into fire, and the next choice he made would decide not only his fate, but the fate of three alien boys, and the frightened mother who stood between fear and hope. The first explosion was not loud. It was controlled, sharp, and precise, a warning shot against the door of a nearby house. The message was clear. The search was no longer quiet. Rill felt the floor vibrate under his feet. Son grabbed his arm. Tavo moved closer to the wall. Their mother closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering strength from somewhere deep inside. "They have started," she said calmly, though her hands trembled. Outside, alien soldiers moved fast now. No questions, no knocking. Doors were forced open. Scanners screamed as they searched for traces. Fear spilled into the streets. The symbol on the floor suddenly glowed bright, brighter than ever before. The light filled the small room, then settled into a steady shine. At the same moment, Elias stepped out from the shadows near the street entrance. He saw the soldiers surrounding the block, weapons raised, drones hovering above like metal birds. He could still walk away, disappear into the lower city, save himself. No one would blame him. No one even knew his real name here. But he remembered Rill's shaking hands, Tavo's careful steps, Sen's quiet eyes. He remembered their trust. Humanity did not turn away, not today. Elias activated his wrist device. Signals burst outward, confusing scanners, bending tracking paths. Several drones drifted off course. Alarms flared in confusion. The soldiers shouted. Some turned toward the signal source. Others rushed the houses faster, fear turning into anger. Inside the home, the boys heard boots stop right outside their door. Heavy final. "Hide," their mother whispered, pushing them toward the wall space, her voice breaking for the first time. Before the door could be forced, a new sound filled the street, a human voice, calm, loud enough to carry. "You are looking for me," Elias said, stepping into the open, hands visible weaponless. The soldiers froze, surprised, then slowly turned, scanners locked onto him, confirmations flashing across their displays. "That is him," one shouted. Elias walked forward alone, coat open, no armor, no shield, just a man standing between power and children he barely knew. "Leave the homes," he said. "I will come quietly." The alien commander hesitated, suspicion sharp in his eyes. "You think this changes anything?" he asked. "It changes everything," Elias replied, "because now the truth has a face." He deactivated his device and dropped it to the ground. The protection mark inside the house faded slightly, as if answering his choice. The boys watched through a narrow crack, tears silent. Their mother covered her mouth, her worst fear and deepest memory unfolding together. Soldiers surrounded Elias, binding his hands, weapons pressed close. Yet he did not resist, did not lower his head. As he was taken away, he turned once toward the house, though he could not see inside. "Kindness travels farther than ships," he said again softly. The words reached the boys like a promise and a wound at the same time. The soldiers moved on, satisfied, leaving the block shaken but standing. Inside, the room felt empty, the glow gone, the protection silent. "He chose us," Sun whispered. Their mothers sank to the floor, tears falling freely now, not only from fear, but from understanding. "He stood alone," she said, "because that is what true humanity does." Far away, Elias was taken toward the central tower, lights closing around him, power preparing to crush him quietly. But he walked steady, because somewhere behind him, 3 boys were alive, and that was enough. Above the city, the ships held their positions, waiting, and for the first time, the system felt something it had not felt in years. A single human standing alone, refusing to move, refusing to break, and daring the universe to remember what humanity truly meant. Silence followed the raid, not the calm kind, but the heavy kind that presses on the chest and makes every breath feel loud. Inside the small house, the boys sat without speaking. The space felt colder, as if the warmth had been taken away with the human. Their mother stood slowly, her eyes fixed on the place where the symbol had once glowed. Her fear was still there, but something else had grown stronger: memory, guilt, and responsibility. "He did not save us so we could hide," she said, her voice steady now. Rill looked up, his eyes red. "They will punish him." "They already are," she replied, "but silence will punish him more." Outside, city broadcasts changed tone. Elias Marr was named a criminal, accused of smuggling, interference, and endangering public order. His face appeared on every screen. calm even in arrest. The boys felt the weight of choice settle on them. They could stay quiet and survive, or speak and risk everything. That night, their mother told them one final story, the part she had never shared. During the war, she had once stayed silent while a human medic was taken by authorities. She had been afraid. She had lived, but regret followed her every day. "I will not repeat that mistake," she said. At dawn, the boys left the house together, walking openly into a city that hunted truth. Their steps were slow, but they did not turn back. At the central tower, crowds gathered, some angry, some curious, some afraid. Elias was being prepared for public judgment, a fast process meant to end quietly. When the council session began, voices filled the chamber, accusations thrown like weapons, proof twisted, words sharpened to kill hope. Then a small voice cut through the noise. "We carried the bags," Rill said, stepping forward. The room fell silent. Guards moved, but the council raised a hand, curiosity replacing anger. The boys told everything, the job, the kindness, the weight, the humming, the credits, the choice Elias made to protect them. Their mother stepped forward next, her voice strong. She spoke of the protection mark, of old human codes, of aid stolen by power. Tavo revealed what he heard at the market. Medical AI cores meant to save lives, not harm them. The council demanded proof, and Elias finally spoke calmly. He activated a final device. Data burst across the chamber. Shipment logs, blocked aid routes, stolen supplies, names of corrupt officials glowing for all to see. Gasps filled the room. Fear shifted sides. Outside, crowds watched the broadcast, anger turning away from the human, toward those who had hidden suffering for profit. The council's choice was no longer simple. Free Elias and expose themselves, or silence him and ignite unrest across the system. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the youngest council member stood, his voice shaking. "If we punish kindness," he said, "we teach cruelty." The chamber erupted. Guards hesitated. Order stalled. The system held its breath. And in that moment, the choice that would change everything was made. The judgment was delayed. The human was not taken away. And for the first time, power stepped back, uncertain. But uncertainty was dangerous. And the final outcome still waited just beyond the next breath, just beyond the next decision. The city stood at the edge, balanced between fear and truth, and whatever came next would echo far beyond its stars. The city waited, not in noise, but in silence. Screens stayed frozen. Ships above held their position. Even the guards seemed unsure where to place their hands. Inside the council chamber, the delay felt heavier than any sentence. Power had been challenged by truth, and truth does not move quietly. Elias stood still, bound but unbroken, his face calm, as if he had already accepted every possible ending. The three boys stood together, close enough to feel each other breathing. Fear still lived in their chests, but it no longer ruled them. Their mother stood behind them, shoulders straight, eyes clear. She had already faced her greatest fear, silence, and she had defeated it. At last, the head of the council rose slowly. His voice carried across the chamber and into every street through the live feed. "The evidence is real," he said. "The medical cores were meant to heal, not harm." A low murmur spread like fire through the crowd outside. Anger shifting direction, eyes opening. "The charges against the human," the council leader continued, "are withdrawn." For a heartbeat, no one reacted. Then the chamber exploded into sound, disbelief, relief, and rage mixing together. Elias closed his eyes briefly, not in victory, but in release. The council was forced to go further. Names were spoken, officials removed, guards ordered to stand down, corruption exposed to the light it feared most. Outside, people watched history change in real time, not because of weapons or war, but because someone chose to speak. The boys felt the weight lift from their chests. Sun let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Tavo's hand shook. Rill felt tears finally fall. Elias was unbound. He turned toward the boys and their mother, giving a small nod, nothing more, as if saying thank you would make the moment smaller. Later that day, the city changed tone. Patrols withdrew. Drones rose higher. Broadcasts spoke of reform, of aid restored, of medical corps finally reaching the wounded. In the streets, people began repeating a new phrase, first quietly, then louder. Human word is heavier than gold. The boys returned home as heroes. Though they did not feel like heroes, they felt like survivors who had chosen correctly. Their mother watched the doorway that night, not in fear, but in peace. The mark did not return. It was no longer needed. Elias prepared to leave the system, his ship loaded, his path uncertain, as always. Before departure, he visited the boys one last time. No guards, no cameras, just a man and those he had trusted. "You change more than you know," he told them. "No," Rill replied softly. "You did." Elias smiled faintly, then turned away, choosing to leave without reward, without titles, without thanks from those in power. As his ship vanished into the stars, the city felt different, lighter, as if it remembered something it had forgotten long ago, that humanity was not defined by strength, or wealth, or fear, but by the courage to stand alone when it mattered most. And on that day, across one alien world, humanity was remembered, not as conquerors, not as traitors, but as keepers of kindness, and that memory traveled farther than any ship ever could.